Alright, so we're checking out the new iFlight Evoque F6D V2 03 edition in this video. So this one here has the new DJI 03 air unit in it with obviously the new 03 camera, and they've made some modifications to the frame to accommodate that. So I already made a video on the 03 air unit and the 03 system. I'll link that in the video description. That's a more general video on the system. If you have questions about that or don't know what that is, I encourage you to watch that video. It's a longer video, but it's going to cover a lot of your questions in terms of what the 03 system is and why you might want to switch to it. So iFlight's come out with a whole new series of models. Actually updated a lot of their models to these new versions to accommodate the 03 camera, because it does have a different form factor. And so if you compare this to my previous video on the Evoque F6D, which is the 5-inch version of this frame, is dead cat style frame, you'll notice that in that video with the older cameras, the front end is completely different. So they've made a new front end here specifically for this camera, so that you don't get the sides of the frame in view of your FPV feed and your recorded video because of the shorter nature of the camera. And so they're going to be updating all of their models to this new front end for this 03, if you get the 03 version. I think at the time of this video they've updated the Camera 7 Pro with the 03 front end, and then I think the other one is also the Evoque F5D as well. Now, not 100% sure about the other models. I'm sure they're going to be updating all their other models as well. And I am aware of a new Cinewhip that's coming out. That's from iFlight with the 03 system. I am hoping to do a review on that one. I forget what it's called. It's called the Novada or something like that. Novada or Novado. But if you're interested in that, let me know in the comments below, and I'll point that out to iFlight that you're interested in a review of that one. So the Evoque F6D, this frame here, is pretty much the same frame as the F5D, the one I reviewed previously. Obviously, we're going to have a little bit longer arms, and I'll just put the upgraded specs of the frame here so you can read it on your leisure. But basically, we have bigger arms or longer arms to accommodate the 6-inch props versus the 5-inch props. And of course, we're going to go to some bigger motors as well. So now we have some 2506 motors, and these are 1500 kV. I was running this on a 6S battery, 1400 6S Tattoo. And you can see the style of the frame is pretty much identical to the F5D, obviously with the exception of the front end being replaced here with a new one for the 03 camera. You have the same side plates here with the little LED lights and these little white spots here for the LED lights. It's just pretty much the same as on the 5-inch version, and the same in the back here with the XD60 connector sort of in this little TPU part. The 5-inch version has shorter antennas versus the 6-inch version. So with this, when you move up from 5 inches to 6 inches, your main goals to, in terms of why you would want to fly a 6-inch versus a 5-inch, is if you want to fly with like a faster cruising speed. So what I mean by cruising speed, so basically somewhere around mid-throttle, you're going to have a faster speed on the 6-inch props versus the 5-inch props, and that's that's kind of a given. If it's not obvious to you, let me know why you don't think that would be faster or not. And same thing when you go from 6 inches to 7 inches, you go to a bigger prop, the cruising speed goes up. And the main advantage of going to a 6-inch from a 5-inch is that people that tend to use a 6-inch seem to be using it for things like where they're chasing fast objects, like cars that are racing or boats that are racing, stuff like that, where you need that extra speed to keep up with those faster moving objects, versus a 5-inch, which may not be able to maintain that speed. You're going to be up in the higher end of the throttle range on a 5-inch to keep that speed up to chase those faster moving objects. So that's the main advantage of the 6-inch. Of course, the other advantage is when you are cruising and not going crazy on the throttle, you do get more efficiency on the bigger prop, and that's why you have the longer antennas in case you want to go a little further away. But this isn't really intended for long range flights, so they don't have GPS on this one, although pretty sure there's another TPU part here that you can add in the back that will add a GPS if you want to do that in the future. So again, on the arms on the bottom of the frame here, you have the little LED lights again, just like on the 5-inch version. So these will show up really nice if you're doing some nighttime flying, and you have your little iFlight LED light here on the bottom as well. So mine came with an Express LRS receiver here, and it's stored in the back here, like where all the other receivers are. One of the questions people are going to probably ask is, well, if these are 5.8 gigahertz antennas, which these are here in the back, how does this work with, the O3 system, which works on 5.8 and 2.4? And the answer is these are fine for video, and this is what this is for 5.8 gigahertz, because when you use an external receiver, like I'm using this 2.4 gigahertz Express LRS receiver, the O3 system does not transmit in 2.4 gigahertz because that would interfere with the external receiver. It only does video in 5.8 gigahertz. Basically, it only uses 2.4 gigahertz if you're not using an external receiver and you're using the built-in RC link that's in the O3 system, and you're using the remote controller 2, that's the DJI remote controller 2 that connects to this. Then it will use the antennas for both 5.8 and 2.4, and in which case you're going to need an antenna that can do dual band. The ones that come on here are 5.8 gigahertz as far as I know. So a couple things here on the O3 air unit itself. It's a little hard to see, but there's a heatsink that's attached to the bottom here. And then one of the covers for the O3 air unit is actually removed, so it can fit into this little space here. And I actually include that in the box if you want to take this out and use it elsewhere. And I think that they made an adjustment here in terms of, because the O3 air unit is not as exposed to air when airflow, they added this extra heatsink down at the bottom right there, so that it keeps it cooler within a normal, or I guess a reasonable operating temperature, because it does get very hot. So that's why they added that extra heatsink that's right there. And you can see here's what it looks like on this side here. Again, the top cover is removed. They did add this little silicone plug for the USB-C port, but they don't have a little plug for the micro SD card slot. So in terms of the flying characteristics of this, it kind of boils down to what a 6-inch feels like versus a 5-inch. And in a nutshell, what you're going to get is more, it's going to basically fly faster in straight lines. It's not going to be as agile or as maneuverable as a 5-inch. So you get more speed, but you give up agility for that speed, and because of the extra weight, it's harder for it to make quick turns. If you try and fly this like a 5-inch, you'll find that you're going to be on the throttle quite a bit more to control it in those tight turns because of the extra weight. And really, if you think about like the difference between a 5-inch and a 7-inch, this kind of falls kind of right in between, because as you move up from a 6-inch to a 7-inch, those same sort of characteristics apply as well. You get more speed, but less agility and less maneuverability as you move up in prop size. Okay, so lastly, this is how much the quad weighs. No battery, no GoPro, 521.9 grams. And with the 1400 6S tattoo, we're moving up to 746.2 grams. And then with the Hero 11, this is the full-size Hero 11, now we're coming up to about 900.5 grams. So yes, I did fly this with the Hero 11 on here, just to sort of get an idea what the weight's like. If your goal is just use the onboard footage from the O3 camera, which you can get up to 4K 60 with Rocksteady, it's perfectly acceptable video in my opinion. Obviously, if you're looking for a little bit better image quality, you probably want to go for Hero 11. But you're probably like, well, how does the video compare between the GoPro and the O3? I'm going to have a separate video on that one. I'm probably not going to release that for a while on the main channel here. I'll probably release it for Patreons first. But if you have any questions about that, let me know. I'm not sure when that's going to come out because I have a pretty tight video schedule. But if you want to know, in a nutshell, in my opinion, the video quality on the O3 air unit is really good, and you can, of course, do some tweaking on it. I'll probably have a video on that one as well, how to optimize your camera settings on the O3 air unit. But in my opinion, the GoPro footage is a little bit better because you have that 10-bit color and the 5.3K video, of course. You have Real Steady, of course, as well, and I think that's a little bit better than Rocksteady. So those are just, if you're looking for like the super condensed opinion, that's pretty much where things kind of break down. But the differences are really hard to pick out. You got to do some serious pixel peeping to notice the differences. For most people that are just kind of posting video casually, the O3 Air Unit onboard recording in 4K 60 is pretty good, and I think most people will be happy with it if you're just posting casually on social media and stuff like that. Okay, that's good for this video. Any questions, let me know in the comments below. Talk to you guys in the next one.